Alright, hello, hello, hello. I am Mitchell, and I wanted to take some time because it's a really a unique situation that we're in here with The Last of Us. It's a game that doesn't come out until next Friday, but we have had it since about Thursday or so, maybe Wednesday or Thursday. James has mostly been playing it for the walkthrough, and I'll get to that why he's doing the walkthrough. Um, and I took it home on Thursday, played a whole bunch of it, and then got to take it home again on Friday, and I am now 52% through the game. And this is a unique situation because usually we cannot talk about games until the Tuesday of release, or maybe a little bit before the release date. But I would imagine because of the craziness of E3, Naughty Dog decided to make their embargo date be much earlier so that the reviews and the discussion about Last of Us doesn't get buried within all the news of E3 and next-gen consoles and all that stuff. So, yeah, it's a unique situation where I'm actually able to talk about it well before the release date. So, I guess I figured I would talk about some of my thoughts 52% into the game. This is a game that is beginning like ridiculously high acclaim from various press. It's getting, I think that it's at like 26 perfect review scores about now. The lowest I think is a 75 from Polygon, and man, it's crazy to me. I just want to say, The Last of Us, from my perspective, is a very, very, very good game. It's really, I can't think of anything that's really similar to. It combines stealth, action, horror, all three of those things very, very, very cohesively. Hey guys. Silence music and Lucha. Yeah, I'm talking about Last of Us. This is about my thoughts about Last of Us. If you guys had any questions about The Last of Us, please let me know. I'll be happy to answer whatever I can. I'm gonna try to stay away from spoilers. Obviously, I do not want people coming in here and having something spoiled about the game. But yeah, where was I? So yeah, it combines stealth, action, and survival horror very cohesively. Better than any game I've seen in the past. But the real interesting thing about The Last of Us is that while I feel most survival horror games either focus entirely on the horror aspect, and other games kind of they make it survival action horror. Last of Us has action in it, but it's mostly about the survival. What I'm trying to say here is you go into each combat scenario of The Last of Us with very, very scarce resources. You might have maybe 3 shots on your pistol. You might have 5 shotgun shots and a melee weapon, and that's it. That's pretty much all you get for that combat scenario. And that's if you're playing conservatively throughout the entire game and you've been scavenging a lot. And sometimes, you feel like that is barely enough to survive. Like, if you land all your shots, you might be okay. And that's a very interesting thing about The Last of Us. It's that you feel like you have to make use of every single thing in your inventory just to get by. And then, thankfully, once you get by a tough combat scenario, then you'll encounter a supply closet where you can restock on everything and all that stuff. All right, we got some questions here. The game will be out in 6 days. Is that true? It's next Friday? Yeah, 6 days. No, the tiny unmade bed behind me is not where the magic happens. I feel like I answer this every single time I stream from my room. That is not actually my bed. That is just a random bed that I have in my computer room office area. Sometimes I watch anime from it or Netflix, etc., etc. What else? Uh, is it a hard game? Excuse me, hold on. Is it a hard game? Uh, no, I don't think it's a hard game. At least not on normal. I'm sure if you play it on hard, it will be much more difficult. Here's the thing about the difficulty in The Last of Us. If you decide to use the in-game mechanic of the listening mode, Joel's enhanced listening, which is kind of an immersion breaker because Joel is supposed to be this average guy with no special abilities, but yet he has this ability that's obviously meant for the sake of making the game easier for gamers, in that he's able to look through walls and he's able to kind of have this daredevil thing of listening for footsteps and all that kind of stuff. So if you use that, the game is not that difficult, and it's also not that scary. It's intense. Don't get me wrong; it's very intense, regardless of whether you're using that ability or not. But it's not that scary. However, there is the option in the options menu to turn that mode off, which I think is a very, very smart thing to do from Naughty Dog. If you turn that off, this game becomes an entirely different beast because the enemies are everywhere. And one of the big things about the game is knowing when to initiate a stealth attack, because it's not instant. You can't just run up to someone and snap their neck. You have to, you grab their neck, you bring them down, and you slowly start strangling them until they go unconscious. And during that time, anyone can see you, and you cannot get out of the way. So one of the really important things is using your listening mode to know where everyone is, which way everyone is facing, and then finally making the decision, okay, I gotta go for it, and then you go and strangle. There is an instant kill with there is an instant stealth kill, but it requires the use of a shiv, and you can only have 3 shivs at one time, and the shivs are really, really important, guys. Not only are shivs your final defense against clickers, it's the only way you can really kill a clicker from stealth. They also open doors that are, basically ammo caches. So you can use a shiv to open a locked door, and then you'll find a whole bunch of cool stuff inside. So there's a lot of really interesting game mechanics in The Last of Us that I think really push gaming in the right direction. It's such a well-designed game, guys. More than anything else, I gotta say, the game design in Last of Us is like masterful. That being said, it's really not my style of game. Like, I can appreciate how good of a game Last of Us is, but for me, I'm more of a constant action-y guy. And one of the other things about Last of Us I'll say that kind of bugged me, it's really inconsistent about the rules of each encounter. Like, for example, let me just paint a picture. There's a part where you are in a room with a bunch of infected, a bunch of clickers, a bunch of runners, and it seems like it's a stealth section. You know everyone's kind of unaware that you're there, and there's a path that you can go to kind of get up to the top floor. But then when you get up to the top floor, you notice that there's nowhere for you to go. All the doors are closed. You can't move anything, and it becomes clear that the only way to proceed is to kill every infected in the room, and that's a bummer, especially coming from games like Deus Ex and even Thief, where it's a challenge to stealth your way through an area. The challenge is still there, and you feel like you're a pretty big badass for doing it, but then you come to realize that, wait, the game didn't want me to do this. Now I have to kill everyone, and that wasn't something that I was planning on doing. So, and then it's inconsistent because there are times where you can stealth through everyone and get to the end and avoid a confrontation. But I just wish that they were a little more clear as to whether you could or could not do that. Alright, so let me, now that I finished that, let me go over some of these questions. Let's see. The only question remains for me, is the game worth my money? I would say yes. The game is definitely worth your money, especially if you're interested in the style of game that I just mentioned to you. It is intense. It's so intense. There are times when you'll just be doing something, and all of a sudden you hear the of a clicker. Or that's not a good imitation, but it has this ungodly sound, and you turn around, and all of a sudden it's like, ah! And it's biting your face off, and God, it's so intense. But yeah, I do think the game is worth your money. Even for me, it would be worth my money. It's still a great game. It's not the Citizen Kane of video games, as one reviewer has mentioned so far. It's definitely like in the running for Game of the Year for me, but I'm not sure if it will top Tomb Raider or BioShock. Is it a stealth game? I would say primarily yes, it's a stealth game. Stealth is the best way to conserve your materials. Really, more than a stealth game, it's a game about survival, and the best way to survive is by being stealthy. Alright, what else? Naughty Dog is not going to bust in here and tackle Mitch. I am well under the rules of what the embargo are. You can find reviews everywhere that are basically talking about the same things I'm talking about. I will not talk about any spoilery stuff, story stuff. So yeah, don't worry about that. Naughty Dog is not going to get me in trouble. One of the things that I noticed when I was playing the demo is that peeking near the edge of cover will still get you seen, unlike most cover-based games. Yeah, and that you ask different people, that will probably be either a positive or a negative. There are some people who like to know when they're in cover, and they like to have some sort of visual indication that they cannot be seen. Other people probably like the realism of it. And one thing that should be commended about The Last of Us, the AI is genuinely pretty good. There was one moment where I got spotted by one enemy, and all of a sudden he didn't make a sound. I got to him before he could say anything, but still, everyone in the room suddenly knew where I was, and that I hate that about stealth games. Come on, Mitch, do the walkthrough. You would not want to see me do this walkthrough, guys. Let me just tell you. You might not notice about me. You probably do. I'm a pussy. I'm a pussy when it comes to video games. And when I'm playing this game, like I'm 52% through the game. I've played for about 7 hours. That's probably slower than most people would go through the game. It's because I never let go of the R2 button, which is the listen mode, which lets you look through walls. I can't help it. I rely on it so much because I don't want to be scared. You would not want to see me play this walkthrough. James will be a much better choice for this walkthrough, regardless of how poorly he does at some parts of the game. I guarantee you it will be more entertaining to watch him play this game than me. What else? Yes, James's walkthrough should come out on the same day of release. It will not probably come out sooner. Naughty Dog has a very long list of things that you cannot show in terms of videos before the release date. In general, like you can only show 30 seconds of footage, and you can only have 5 different clips of 30 seconds of footage. It's crazy. They really do not want this game getting out, and for good reason. There's a lot of really good surprises in the game. Is the stealth in the game like Hitman, or is it a bit different? It's a bit similar to Hitman. The thing is about The Last of Us, the battles against the infected are pretty unique in that each of the different types of infected have their own set of rules. The runners they're basically similar to humans in that their eyesight is pretty good. They're really fast, and they'll just if they see you, they're going balls to the wall, dashing right after you, and trying to claw your face off. So for those guys, you kind of gotta act the same way that you would when you're fighting against humans, and that you gotta be very stealthy. You gotta be careful which way they're facing, and you gotta try to maneuver your way to the back so you can strangle them. Then you have the clickers. The clickers are they're pretty slow, they're pretty durable, but the really big thing about them is that they cannot see. They can only locate you through echolocation, and if they're wandering around, they'll be clicking and they'll be trying to find you. And the echolocation doesn't have very long range, so as long as you're decently far away, you should be fine. But if you get close and they grab you, you're done. It's an instant kill. So one of the big intense things about the game is, do I have enough offensive material to take out a clicker? In order to take out a clicker, you either need a melee weapon, you need a good amount of ammo for your gun, or you need a shiv to sneak up on them. If you can't sneak up on them, and you don't have a melee weapon, and you don't have any ammo, you're fucked. You cannot take out a clicker. Unless you have an upgrade later on that lets you, use a shiv to get them when they grab you. But yeah, it's intense. What else we got? Do I think that the game mechanics are conventional? Many reviewers thought so of BioShock Infinite shooting, though I know you disagreed. Is the story the only hook here? No, the gameplay in The Last of Us is far from conventional. It's extremely unconventional. Like I was saying, it's primarily a stealth game, but it has a very distinct style to it. Unlike most stealth games, like if the enemies see you, you still have a chance. The enemies in Last of Us, like the infected, they don't have any real ranged weapons. So if you're going into a fight with infected and an infected sees you, like, you can get away. You'll just have to do a lot of running around, trying to scrounge up supplies. If you don't have a melee weapon to deal with the clickers, you'll have to find a melee weapon. If you don't have enough ammo, you'll have to, scrounge around and find some ammo to, like, put 2 shots into them, and then run around and try to find something else. It gets intense, but it's far from conventional. That's probably the biggest, aside from the connection between Joel and Ellie and how that relationship grows and evolves as the game goes on. The real hook of The Last of Us is the unconventional gameplay and how unlike anything else it is. Isn't the zombie game genre in general overdone? Yeah, I would say so, but there's always room for games that take a new take on a genre that's overdone. And I think The Last of Us identity as a zombie game is very unique, similar to how the Walking Dead's identity as a zombie game was very unique. And there's a lot of parallels between The Walking Dead and The Last of Us. It's a story that is not so much about the zombies. A lot of zombie stories, they're about, how do we kill these zombies? How do we stop the world from being attacked by zombies, and how do we survive this outbreak? The Last of Us isn't about that, really. It's about the day-to-day struggle of the characters. What do the characters do to survive in this world with zombies? How do the zombies affect the characters' lives, and what did they have to do to survive in a world with zombies? Sometimes it involves killing them. Sometimes it involves just getting to a new area where other people are affected by zombies. How does it affect them? So that's what I think is really really interesting about The Last of Us and its story. Let's see. Hey everyone that is joining. I know this is supposed to be about The Last of Us, but I must thank you for turning me to Attack on Titan. My god, that is epic as hell. Well, you're very welcome. I am always happy when I am able to turn someone to either a show or an anime that I really like. Oh, that reminds me, I gotta do another Twitter anime recommendation for the week. But yeah, another game that. Oh, can I say how long it is and does it have replay value? I I can only tell you that I have played for 7 hours and 12 minutes, and I am 52% complete. That is the statistic that I see on my screen right now. What else was I gonna say? So there's parallels between the Walking Dead and The Last of Us, but there's also I wanted to bring up the parallels between The Last of Us and BioShock Infinite, because even though the style of game that they are is very different, I feel like they are two important games for very similar reasons. Um, I think both games do an amazing job of selling you on the world of the game. Um, Obviously, Bioshock Infinite does it with Rapture, and The Last of Us does this with this post-apocalyptic world that has gone to shit, but also strangely looks kind of beautiful because it's like nature has reclaimed the world. Um, and also, another similarity is the dynamic between the two main characters, Booker and Elizabeth, and on The Last of Us you have Joel and Ellie. And they have a very similar style of how they build that relationship up, and it's something that I think should happen with more games. Um, Games should be about the journey of the start to the finish, and more than anything else, both BioShock Infinite and The Last of Us really sell that journey by making these two characters have a very strong relationship that you want to learn more about and you want to see progress and develop. So yeah, I think those games, and plus they both have two incredible performances and very distinct performances by Troy Baker, who obviously has now become the Nolan North of video games, at least for 2013. Now that we know both Naughty Dog teams are proven, what do you think is next for the Last of Us team? Personally, I would like to see a sequel that is thematically related, though not a direct sequel. I don't. I mean, it really depends on how The Last of Us ends. I haven't, like I said, I haven't beaten the game yet. I don't think there should be a sequel to The Last of Us. I think this game is telling the story of Joel and Ellie, but it's also telling the story of this world. And I don't think anything else need. Just like how Bioshock didn't really need a sequel. I don't think The Last of Us needs a sequel. I think the team that worked on The Last of Us should focus on creating a new story. Let's see what else we have here. Can Ellie? Well, The Last of Us devs at Naughty Dog were actually the main force behind. Okay, yeah. Okay, I see. I actually didn't know that about the entire team working on The Last of Us. Can Ellie take care of herself like in Bioshock Infinite, or do you have to protect her constantly? No, it's a similar situation where Ellie can't get killed in normal situations. However, there are scripted moments where you have to kick a guy off of Ellie or something like that. But for the most part, she can take care of herself. And it actually leads into another immersion-breaking thing about The Last of Us. Your various AI companions are completely invisible to the AI, so there will be times where you'll be in cover, Ellie will be, standing right next to an enemy, and you'll be like, shit, they saw us, and you'll go out and shoot them. But in reality, no, they didn't see you, because apparently Ellie has some sort of invisible cloak on her, and she cannot be seen by or shot at by the enemies. But she can take care of the enemies pretty well. There are times when you're being attacked and you get grabbed, and Ellie will come over and stab them with her knife, and knock them off of you so you can finish them off. So she is helpful. Let's see what else. Mm. Naughty Dog said that they could make a sequel if they wanted to, and if they did, they wouldn't use the same characters, but that they also said they'd be completely fine with not making a sequel. That makes sense. Um, yeah, I don't think they should make a sequel to Last of Us. It's not like an Uncharted thing where you have these characters, you have an adventure, and then he's a treasure hunter, so obviously he can move on to another adventure, which can be just as great. It's a very different kind of thing. Zach is no longer in the Gamefront update because Zach doesn't really want to be in the Gamefront update. It's really that simple. uh, what else? I think the point was to avoid making it an escort mission. You're absolutely right. People hate escort missions. It's a common fact. Um, yeah, I mean, can you imagine Bioshock Infinite if you had to constantly worry about Elizabeth getting grabbed or shot, or had to keep an eye on her health while you were, having fun, zooming around the skyhook and going from area to area collecting stuff, and then you have to go, oh god, Elizabeth's in trouble again, gotta go back. It wouldn't be great. So it's one of those things where, yeah, it's an immersion breaker, but you kind of just have to accept it because the benefit of that immersion break is better than the detriment of it. That's how I think anyway. Do I fear mimics more than scary games? They're about equal. The Last of Us versus Metro Last Light. Ooh, that's a tough question. In terms of atmosphere, what sells the atmosphere better? You know, Ooh, it's hard to say. The thing is about Metro is that you are constantly brought to areas where people are living and people are talking about their experiences living in the metro and all that stuff. The Last of Us is a much more personal journey. There's most of the time it really is just Joel and Ellie and whatever partner they're with at the time. Um, so in a way, I think Metro does a better job of atmosphere. But that's not to say that Last of Us is a slouch, because it is also one of the most atmospheric games I've played. No problem, Grissom Kev. I'm glad you you came in here and thought and heard what I thought, as long as you did. What else we got? Mm-mm-mm-mm. Oh well, I'm glad you liked my walkthrough of Metro. I had a lot of fun with that walkthrough. I didn't think I would, actually. I thought I wouldn't like Metro Last Light. Mm-mm-mm-mm. But yeah, you know what? I think this is actually a good place to end this stream. I feel like I've sufficiently got most of the stuff off my chest about The Last of Us. I answered a good amount of questions. If there's any other questions, ask me before I finish wrapping this up, and I'll answer it. But just to conclude my thoughts, I think the game is great. I don't think it's the Citizen Kane of gaming, as some places have mentioned. It's an extremely unique and powerful and moving experience. The story is fantastic. The characters are great. The the performances are some of the best that we've ever seen. And this goes back to my point that I made at the Gamefront update regarding Hollywood talent in video games. I have not seen a game with that heavily featured Hollywood talent as the prime focus of the voice cast that holds a candle to the uh, the quality of the acting from The Last of Us. I know there are a couple of big name TV stars in The Last of Us, but Troy Baker puts on the performance of a lifetime as Joel. Ashley Johnson, I name is, totally sells the 14-year-old girl Ellie, um, as like this bratty but much more wise beyond her years little girl. Um, but yeah, let's see what else do we have here. Do I have any personal reactions to specific reviews or reviewers, or is it too soon for reaction? No. I assume you're probably talking about the 7.5 review from Polygon, and I read it. And he makes a couple of valid points. Obviously, the violence didn't resonate with him very well. He didn't like some of the things that he was forced to do, and that's a perfectly valid point. I don't think people should be mad at him for it. Some of the perfect scores I think are a little too forgiving of certain flaws of the game, or maybe they were so immersed in the experience that they didn't even notice them. But yeah, that's about it. Let's see what else. I don't know what the Destiny of Spirits rumor is. And alright, I think that's about it. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed my thoughts. I might, maybe if I finish this game over the weekend, I might work on a review for my personal channel. And that's about it. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.